I'm recording this session for the sake of those of you that couldn't come, and we're meeting again for our monthly Rapido meeting. Thank you for coming. I'm going to start by sharing my presentation, and as always, my suggestion is to go through our slides, and then I'm pretty sure we'll have time to address questions and even engage in a conversation if you find that you want to do that. So I'm sharing my slides now, and this is our program for today. As always, we'll talk a little bit about what's happening with the Rapido community. We'll go through the August release. Documentation is out there already, and also our highlights document. And as always, we will go through a frequently asked question or something that we wanted to remind you of. In case you haven't seen it or you're new to Rapido. And by the way, this is an opportunity again to tell you that if anyone here feels that they would like to see anything on that section of the frequently asked questions, I invite you to contact me, and we can always add it. We have a list of topics, but we will definitely can address some of those issues that you find will be interesting for the community or for yourself during this monthly meetings. So it's an opportunity. So let's start with the Rapido community. And this month, we also have new customers that have gone live from the Australian side of the world. So they're probably not in the session. They were in an earlier session that I did this morning. But also I wanted to share that our community continues to expand, and now we're expanding to new areas of the world. So last time I shared with you that we were expanding our UK community, but also I have great news today. We're expanding our Hong Kong community. What does this mean for the people that are here? I don't know, maybe a future international pod. But it's really exciting to see how this community is expanding around the globe. It's really nice to see that. So expect pretty soon to have a Hong Kong pod. Beyond that, our first in-person igloo is just around the corner. This is happening on September. I don't know if this is relevant for everyone that's here in this session, but it might be. So those of you that are planning to attend in person, would be lovely to see you there. And also maybe some of you are planning not to attend, but are registering. And there's going to be, I saw the program, there's going to be a few interesting sessions on Rapido beyond the ones that we will be presenting there. So I don't know if this is a possibility for you, but there are going to be a few interesting sessions of Rapido. It's really great to see that, and also to have the opportunity to be in person and talk to those of you that will be coming. And also, we have a new video that we want to share with you. It's about copyright. So for those of you that have just started your implementation with Rapido, it might be worth to see it. Those of you that just want to see it, even though you're already fully implemented, and for those of you that are not part of the Rapido community and are interested, of course, also an invitation to view it. And you can find it under our training session, under the advanced section of our videos. So you can just take a look. Let's start with our Rapido August release. I can tell you that this release was very much focused on the staff side of things. Of course, we have developments all around our pillars of Rapido, but a lot on staff. So we're going to start actually with the ecosystem, which is always at the heart of things, and with the resource sharing directory. Before I go to that portion of the presentation, it is always important for me to remind you of the resource sharing agreement, which is something that also Rapido institutions would need to sign if you want to use the Find Partners functionality that we presented 2 months ago, that enables you to find partners for borrowing requests that didn't find a partner either through the Rapido pods or through other networks. So again, if as helping other Rapido customers, I suggest you sign the agreement. You will benefit from this as well. And if there are non-Rapido Alma customers attending today, I will also would like to ask you to sign the agreement. And if you don't know what the agreement is, you can get in touch with me and I will get you in touch with the relevant people from my team that can help you understand a little bit more about it. And the same for the resource sharing directory. So for the resource sharing directory, if you're a Rapido customer, you don't need to add yourself, you're already there. But if you're not, you're an Alma customer, you do need to opt in into the directory. So our first development has to do with the directory. And what was happening up until the August release is that libraries would put their information in the directory, will contribute to the directory with all of the information that is needed for the for a partner to be downloaded for a peer-to-peer connection. What was not happening is that if this institution that had contributed their partner record to the directory would update their information, such as email, the relevant information, email, addresses, the standard, the shipping address, any type of information of this sort, actually the directory would not disseminate these changes into the institutions that downloaded these records. And this is exactly what is happening now. So I'll try to make it simple. Maybe it sounds a little bit complex. If I am an institution that where I have actually contributed my record to the directory, either automatically because I am a Rapido institution or because I have opt-in, if I made a change to my address, my email, any important information that should be part of the partner record, this wouldn't have been distributed into those libraries that downloaded my partner record via the directory. And now this is happening automatically. So a very important development on the area of our networks, ecosystem, etc. As always, of course, the user experience also at the core of our system. And I'm going to go through some slides that might remind you of our last meeting last month, which is they deal with the conference proceedings. So I want to remind you that last month we talked about conference proceedings that had identifiers of type ISBN. So they would be considered a, open using the right terminology, but it would be a monograph. We said that the ISSN part of this development would be done in the next release, which is the August release. So what we did, and I'm showing slides that are very similar, but really behind them, there is a conference proceeding of type journal, serials, and when you click Get It For Me, what we had up until this month, up until now, is when you would click the Get It option, you would get the very short digitization request form that is used for articles that doesn't have the possibility of adding specifics like from page to page, because you're actually requesting an article. And of course, if you're coming from a journal, in this case, of type conference proceedings, you would need for that digitization to be enabled, not to break also copyright rules of the percentage of the resource for digitization, etc. You would need to have more fields to be filled, and this is exactly the form that we're now opening up is the bigger form, the larger form, with the option to add more information for this digitization to take place. So we've actually, with the August release, we've closed the whole saga, let's call it, of the whole story of conference proceedings and the digitization request, enabling partial digitization requests, both for ISBN and for ISSN. Another thing that happened in this release related to the ISSN is that if patron would place a request on a conference procedure with an ISSN, again, meaning this is a series, a journal series, the ISSN field itself wasn't mapping into the right field in the borrowing request, and for the same reason you couldn't actually correct it if you wanted to correct it or do something with it. So again, this is something that we've done this release. It's more a bug fix, but I wanted to make you aware of it. And now we're moving into our staff efficiency section. And there is a lot of material here. So the first thing I want to do is tell you that all of the documentation is in place. And the reason I'm telling you this is because there's a lot of configuration that I will be mentioning during this part of the presentation. But really, I don't want you to worry about the configuration. I want you more to concentrate in the stories, even though I am mentioning what the configuration is needed, but you can find all of the details under the documentation. So no worries if something is missed here. The first thing that we want to start with, that I want to start with, is the possibility of branches to ship, as lenders, to ship the resources directly to the borrowing institution. So what you currently have today, before the August release, is that the branch needs to transit the requested material to the associated resource sharing library. So they didn't have the possibility of shipping directly, or maybe you did some kind of very strange workaround to get to this situation. But now the functionality is here to support it. I have to say that this is not something that might be that not every institution needs to do. We do know that there are some institutions where this workflow is the preferable workflow for many, many reasons, for efficiencies, or the branch is far away from the resource sharing that is managing, and thus this is why it might be needed. So really only if you need it, if you're used to this workflow, I would suggest going through this path, but of course knowing that it exists is a good idea. We're now going to work through some steps for configuration just to understand how this works. And again, if you feel I'm running or anything like that, everything's documented, so no worries at all. So the first thing that we need to do is to add this information to the library level. So we have under the configuration, under general libraries, we have the add library or edit library information. And we've added this little new checkbox where you state that this library ships the resource sharing directly, has the ability to ship directly. So this checkbox needs to be checked. Now for the following up this example, I just want you to see that we're talking about the reference library. So this is my branch that can do shipping directly. So there is a resource sharing library behind the scenes that receives the lending request, creates the move, etc. But the branch is doing actually the shipment of the resource. So first configuration step. The next configuration step is, it's a configuration step that we call this reshelf without transit rules. So you need to configure, mention that you don't need transit rules for this particular library. And what we're actually saying here is that this same reference library that I showed you before doesn't require transit rules to the resource sharing library. So this is what we need, the next step that we need to set up. And you see here that the reshelf without transit is set to true. Okay, so this is basically the rule that we've created between the reference library and the resource sharing library. So our second step. Now I want to talk about a recommendation. This has existed for a very long time in Rapido already, and is how you manage the move request or the creation of the fulfillment request at the branch. And what we suggest here is just a suggestion, a recommendation, is that you set this to be automatic. So the move to branch of the request itself is done automatically, meaning that from the lending side, actually no one, if this is set, no one needs to go into that lending list, the resource. The fulfillment request is created at the right branch, and then the whole process is managed by the branch instead of the resource sharing library. So it's a recommendation. If you still want to have the resource sharing library go and perform the move from the task list, from the lending task list, it can be done. It's just a recommendation, and also it gives me the opportunity to remind you of this specific automation that can be done. So a lot of text here, but what it says here is basically that if you've configured those two configurations that I mentioned, something's going to happen at the branch page, at the branch side. I will show it in a second. I'll show you the images. Is that actually the lending request in terms of shipping will be completed at the branch. So something is going to happen a little bit differently. And but in terms of the resource sharing request, the lending request, the whole lending request is going to be completed and set to the right status. For example, shipped physically. Okay, so what has been changed? For those sites that do this configuration, the specific configuration that I mentioned, for those staff members that have the fulfillment roles, they will see something that they hadn't seen before, which is actually only this thing. I don't know about the partners and wrote that this is my screen, but they will be able to see resource sharing and shipping items. Once the request is moved to the branch, they will understand that this is a resource sharing request, and they will have the option to open this up and ship the item directly. In addition to that, if they don't want to come and do the shipping from here, they can use the scanning items option. And the difference now is that they will have the shipping items button enabled as well. So they will scan the barcode and use the shipping items button to ship. And again, the whole story is actually that the branch is doing the shipping directly to the borrowing library without needing to transit to the resource sharing library. Okay, I'm moving forward. This was our first topic, and I want to talk about a second topic. I think that you'll find this very useful. Okay, lots of text here, so I'll try to summarize. It was really hard to think about an image here. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the story simply. A borrowing request is created, and a lending library receives the request. They bring a book, they scan the book for shipping or ship item physically from the lending site, and then because of a mistake or not a mistake, because of a decision, the library actually, let's stick with our story of not a mistake, by intentionally decides, no, sorry, I actually cannot send this. This is something I don't want to send for any kind of reason. And they scan the item back, okay? So what the behavior before the August release, so what you have even today, is that at this point, the lending request is closed. But unfortunately, and this is really unfortunate, the borrowing request is closed as well, which is weird because actually this borrowing request hasn't been fulfilled. And I know those of you that have experienced this, it's really annoying because then you have to create a new borrowing request for this patron, et cetera, et cetera. So the change that we're including in this release is actually that when this happens, Rapido will check if the borrowing request was actually completed or not, meaning if the resource was received by the library or not. And if not, what is going to happen is actually that while the lending request is closed, the borrowing request will remain open, and it's going to look for the next lender in our pod or in the rota. So borrowing request remains open, lending request remains closed, and let's hopefully our patron will receive what he's looking for. In terms of what's registered on the borrowing side, the history will include the fact that the first partner actually rejected the request and decided not to send it. Just for information, just to record this, that this event happened. Of course, you know that once a borrowing request is created, you will see the partner to it, which it was assigned. So it might be weird to suddenly see this request changing. So all of this information is stored in the history. Now, when we move to our frequently asked questions, we are going to talk about the lender side of this story. So this is not a new development, but something I want to make sure that you know that you can set up. And so connecting the two stories here, but it's not a new development. It's something that you could have set up before. So I'm continuing now with our August release, and then we'll come back to this story at the end. The next one is fantastic. I really love it. Is something we've heard from many of you that you wanted to see, and I'm really happy. I think it's a very useful development, again, based on community needs, talks that we've had with you, and it's always so nice to see that actually those discussions that we're having with you actually end up in a good development for the sake of the whole Rapido community. And it's a new facet on the lending side. It's an inventory type. So we've heard this many, many times. We want to be able to facet and create sets according to the inventory type, electronic or physical. And I know many of you create your workflows or even staff, certain staff does different deals with the request according to this inventory type. So now you can do this. And again, I'm just mentioning here the facet, but of course, the possibility of creating a Rapido set based on these facets exists. I just don't want to mention that if the borrowing request, and it might happen. So here you see from what you see here in the back of as the background is that I probably filter by physical. What I want to just say is that if the resource happens to have inventories of two types, then you know that this is not rare. It has an electronic or physical. And again, we're not talking about the type of request that was received, but the inventory. So if you select electronic, but it also has physical, you will see physical and electronic. So it's it will include, of course, that same request because it has electronic inventory as well. But this is expected, I believe. Okay, so very nice development, and moving to another very nice development, which is the whole shelf expiration. Again, these are stories that we've heard from our customers, so we're always happy to see the product go into the direction of the needs of our customers. So until the August release, so up until today, until you get your August release, the resources that borrowing library are receiving through Rapido stay in the whole shelf, not up until the whole shelf expiration policy, but up until the due date of the resource according to POT policy or peer-to-peer terms of use or all of this. So it's the due date of the item itself, of the resource. And of course, we know that our libraries that really require to have these items behave in the same way or attain themselves to the whole shelf expiration policy and not the due date, which in Rapido sometimes is, as we've agreed together with the community, a very long period. So from the August release, we've added a new parameter. This new parameter was added to our configuration. So we're here on the configuration, and you click resource sharing, and there's general and other settings. And what we have new is this Rapido whole shelf expiration. Today, the default is the due date. So all of you will have the due date as the default, which means the same behavior as today. If you want to change this behavior and have it and have this behave according to the whole shelf expiration, you need to change the value to circ desk. Again, I know this is a lot of details related to configuration, but everything's documented, so no worries. So you can change this to circ desk, and that means that the item, the item will behave according to the whole shelf expiration policy. And now this is the point where I need to say that here's an example where the maximum time on whole shelf that the item will be kept is 7 days. Okay, so this is an example. If this is not defined for the particular circulation desk, then it will continue to work as before according to due date. So of course, there has to be an expiration policy for this to work. It's not only setting up the parameter that I showed you before, but it's also, of course, that there is a whole shelf expiration time defined for this particular whole shelf. Okay, and in terms of configuration, just I'll mention where this is located. And again, but you'll find that in the configuration is under under the documentation, it's configuration, fulfillment, library management, circulation desk, whole shelf information. So it's under the whole shelf information. Okay, so as you saw, and these are highlights, a lot of stuff, many related to staff workflows, developments on the August release, and you need to kind of think what each of your institutions would like to apply. So moving on to analytics, which we believe support Rapido as in the sense of you being able to create the reports that you need, but also check if your services are being provided as needed. And the development that we're bringing to you with this month is the digital resource fixed access date and digital resource fixed access date calendar. They're not too different. One includes the hour. So that's the main difference of both of them. You can use whichever you want, but the idea is that you're showing when your user first actually opened that document delivery request that they requested for. And of course, this is something that I would recommend to check because you really want to check that your users are really opening up what they're requesting. Could be interested. I don't know exactly what type of action item you might decide to take if you see that they're not opening their requests. It could be, I don't know, a session about, hey, don't forget that you received via email or in your Patreon card the possibility to view your request or some type of different action, but the possibility for you to monitor who is actually making use of the resource sharing service that they're asking for. Okay, so we've covered the highlights of our August release, and with that, I want to move to the frequently asked questions. And what I want to talk about is the options for scanning items from the lending side. So again, I want to hook it to that story where our lender actually does a double scanning for a reason or for a mistake. And what I want to share for you, and again, sorry for this very long test, is that there are options where actually the librarian, the staff that is doing this double scanning, can see that they're doing it. So now what I want to refer to is not that intentionally I'm returning it, but I'm doing it by mistake. Are there any options that can alert me of this mistake? So the default is none, so there is no message at all. But if you set this differently, and I'll show you the configuration in a second, you can receive a warning message, a pop-up message, a warning message that will require you to confirm the action or cancel it. So in this case, what we're trying to do here is give the staff user the possibility to receive some type of option to decide what they're doing. And there is another option, by the way, which is just a feedback message. So you don't actually confirm or cancel, but it's a pop-up just telling them that the request will be completed, but the scanning action cannot be canceled. So there is either no message at all, this is the default, or there is the possibility to get up a pop-up message that I will show you in a second, letting you either continue with the action that you're doing or canceling, or a message that's just informing you what's happening. So of course, all of this is something you need to decide, and it existed prior to the August release, but I'm not sure that everyone knew about this option. So you can see here the three options that I mentioned. The default is known, but you can either have just a feedback message to see it or a pop-up message. So I want to show you the pop-up message, okay? And this is the pop-up message. Are you sure you want to perform this action? Cancel or confirm is for you to decide if you want to do this or not. This setup is available from the configuration menu, fulfillment, physical fulfillment, scanning messages configuration. So again, I'm sorry that this session was had a lot of configuration information. I do want you to focus on the different stories, but also know what are your different options here so that you can decide what suits your institution and for which particular scenario. So this was my last slide, which gives me the opportunity to close my sharing and see if we have questions or comments. And I think we do have, so I'm going to first look at the chat and then at the so we have a question, and I don't know, this is a question coming from Lori. So Lori, I ask you to be, since I presented lots of functions, and you're asking if something is available in Alma resource sharing. Which one are you referring to, Lori? And I can unmute you if you prefer that, whatever you prefer. Okay, I'm going to unmute Lori, so give me a second, guys. This is always let's see how I can do that, but I prefer to hear you than read you. Okay, here we are. Lori, you're unmuted.
Thank you. The question is about functionality for Alma resource sharing in general for the two features of being able to ship from the branch and to add the warning that you're about to complete a request. Are those available in standard Alma resource sharing as well?
Great question. So the first one, no, the sending directly from the branches is only in Rapido. The second one is also available for Alma resource sharing.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay, I'm going to check the, I have like, you need to see this. I have like a million of little windows, Q&As and chats. So I need to work between the two of those. Okay, so I don't see additional questions, but it would be lovely to have them if you have answered them if you have them. So we still have time, so I'm giving you the chance. Okay, actually, I have a very interesting question here. It's not related to things that I've presented today, and actually, it is something that I was thinking of how to address. So I'll talk about it with not as the detail that I want to, and this is I'm telling the names of the people just to thank them for their questions. So Karen, thank you for your question. Can I talk more about the Rapido Holdings Index, the Global Title Index? Specifically addressing reporting problems regarding records. Let me just read this a little bit more. For example, no identifiers or incorrect identifiers that are matching on holdings not related to the record. This is a very important question. As I said before, I was planning to have it as part of one of our frequently asked questions, but I will address it now. So one of the first things that I want to put clear here on the table is that the strength of the Global Title Index or the Rapido Holdings Index is that we are able to see what the Rapido community has. So it's kind of our base line for the whole process of finding something, creating the Rapido request, etc. So this is one thing. Saying that, of course, these are records that are sometimes locally created or manipulated, or they came in by any standard of getting records. And of course, we know that there is always the potential that there might be some quality issue. Let's just put everything on the box of quality. Either missing identifiers, incorrect metadata of any type. Of course, this has an impact on the requesting, okay? Now, we need to measure that. We've heard this from different institutions. It's a very valid point. And we're thinking, actually, in the past few weeks, we're talking about what are our different options regarding this issue. How can we mitigate, change, and there are various options that we're thinking about. And some of those are already on the roadmap. I do want to say that I don't have the specifics of how this is going to look, but one option that is already on our closed roadmap is the ability for an institution to report that that they found this record, which is not a good record, and we will be able to suppress it. I'm saying this, it sounds very simple, but it's not that simple. Maybe the reporting is simple, maybe the suppressing is simple. I want to share with you the behind the scenes, because of course we need to have reports of the suppressed records. We need to be able to desuppress them once they're corrected. Maybe a workflow of communicating with the library, because we cannot change those records. They're not our records. So the library from which this is coming from. So there's a lot of discussion around it, but really the core idea here is having the possibility for libraries to report to us. But the way for us is almost impossible to identify it, because we don't know that a record has the wrong identifier. We can't really know that. So here we will need your help for identifying that. And this is one way of addressing this issue. We have more ideas. They're more complex. They will come later. For example, how do we create? So what you see is one record, but it might be coming from different sources. So how can we reach this? I would call it the best record, and how we measure what is the best record to have in the holdings index. And this is also something that we're investigating. It's more complex. It has to do with algorithms and measuring what is the best record. It is possible. It will take longer, but it will enable us to at least present from the group of records that we have that we consider the same. We will be able to present the best one in some way. So it's very interesting. I hope we'll be able, what we're aiming is to provide you with the tools as a first step, with the tools to communicate with us easily through the application. That you've seen this will immediately suppress the record so that no one else will find it. But as I told you, there are some other ideas that from the beginning will avoid you to needing to report this record. We've just started this thinking, so we might end up doing more things or different things. But I'm happy, Karen, that you brought the question so that we could address it here with everyone. Okay. Let me see. Okay, I don't see more questions, but we have the time, of course. So, guys, maybe two more things. First of all, I want to mention that maybe I did last month, but I want to do it again. That we have Megan Weldon has joined our Rapido team, bringing a lot of knowledge on resource sharing, etc. And she will be, she's in charge beyond many other tasks that she has of customer success, Rapido customer success. So those of you that are live or going live, you will probably hear from Megan. She wants to hear what's working for you, what's not working for you, sharing with you maybe new features that you weren't aware of, workflows. And this is something that if you receive an email from her that she wants to meet, don't want you to be surprised. The idea is that you can talk to her, and of course, we as a team will discuss all of the issues that you're addressing. I think there are more questions, so I'm going to take a look here. Okay, there is a question whether it is possible to tweak the pop-up message for complete lending request. To tell you the truth, I don't know. I imagine that in terms of the text, you can change some of the stuff for customization. But let me just take up this question. again, I don't, I would think about the tweaking more in the sense of why would you need to tweak it, what you need to achieve. Again, this is not to answer here, but it is very, it's a very simple, it's a very simple process in any way. So I would like to hear why would you like to tweak it, just in terms of why would you make that configuration. And thank you, Amy, for the question. Why do you need to go through that process? But again, I believe that there's some wording there that you can, of course, change. But I don't have a definite answer. I've written this question down, so I can maybe later try to address. Okay, let me see if there's something here. I have another question from Kate. Do you have plans in the future to develop better out-of-the-box shipping and return labels? The letters are very difficult to customize, to use as actual mailing labels, and making a lot of work for hand and write address. Kate, I believe we need to do this. I have to be honest with you. This is something I would like very much the working group to start working on, or helping us understand what are the pain points, what we can share. There isn't something specific now on the roadmap, but we have discussed this as something that we need to address differently. And so it's, I know it's not a yes, no answer. I hope this is something I would like to work with the working group. And just for those of you that are interested, I will be meeting the chairs, hopefully in the coming weeks, just to see where we are and what type of enhancements we want to add to NERS, for those of you that are part of Igloo Luna, for voting, etc. But I don't necessarily want to see this out of the voting. This is not what I mean. What I mean is that in terms of working on the pain points of this paperwork, I would like to hear also from the community, also here in this webinars, but this is work that I would need the community to help me a little bit in understanding what are the changes that are needed. And there might be some things that are infrastructural that are unchangeable. I cannot say now, but I definitely think that this is something that we need to do. So yes, on our list of how can we make this better. And I see that Chris has answered that this is one of his, yeah, we have a member here of the group. So guys, you'll be fairly represented on this. Okay, we have an interesting comment also, and since we have time, I'm just taking the time to answer the questions. Before I go, just see the chat, because on the chat, the Chris and the CSU are providing you with the open work that they did on a lot of work that they invested on this. And I know this might be very, very helpful, even though we need to get somewhere else, but still, I think that the magnificent work that the CSU have done might help you. So thank you, Chris and CSU for sharing this. Amy, you bring here a point that I think it's very crucial, where you say that your students don't understand the resource sharing language or the Rapido terms. So adjusting the language to make it more understandable for them would be great. Yes, I agree. It's not only something that is related to students. I think this could be something related to, for example, for staff that were working in a different resource sharing tool and are finding hard to adjust to the new language. I want to give the bright side, because I'm a very positive person, and then we'll talk about the what can we do. The bright side is that what I've seen is really that it is hard to adjust to the terms. And also we've discovered, discussing with our customers, that sometimes we were using terms that if I would tell you this is something, you would tell me, but you're talking about something totally different. But what I can tell you, the bright side is that once you start working with Rapido more and more and more, you get used to the language, and your team adjusts, and it seems to us that they learn. But of course, this doesn't mean that we don't need to do something. I think we need to do something. We're working now on a glossary that helps understand, for example, what comes in, let's say you're coming from Iliad, just taking Iliad as an example. If you're coming from Iliad, what type of concepts are we using in Rapido? Or should we change the Rapido concept? I'm totally open also for that as well. So we understand that this is crucial, having everyone understand what we're talking about. And we'll either work on glossaries, or we'll adjust language when needed. And please, this is something I invite you. This is a very good example of something that I did mention the working group. Now I want to mention Megan. This is customer success. I will take it and talk to Megan about it. She knows, she's aware of this issue anyway, but this is something that we believe is related to customer success. So we'll bring it up through that channel. Okay. Okay, I see another question. Can the reasons for cancellation and rejection be customized? I think they can, but I'm not, and all of this is documented. I know there's a closed list for some things, and I don't remember if it's the rejection or the cancellation, and you can only translate them. So I'm taking this as a note. Again, I'll see how I can answer you guys in other formats, but I don't recall exactly what you can change, what you cannot change. So I'm just going to copy this question with your permission. And thank you for the question. Okay, and let me see. And you're also saying that it would be great if the letters would be just Word docs. I really don't know if this is possible, but again, we'll work with the development teams, and we'll work with the working group teams to see what is possible, what is not possible. Of course, that the easiest way would be the preferable. I don't really know if having just words would be the way to do this. Okay. Well, and not everyone can see the links that that Chris has shared. So Chris, did you share to everyone in the chat? Hope you did. Okay, and I see there's already what an involved community, Kate. Thank you. The cancellation cannot be customized by user. Documentation says you have to make a support case to change that. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you, Shelly. You as well are answering. I hope all of you can see this, the chat, because the chat is interesting and has the links. And Chris, maybe you want to resend with everyone. Okay. I'm trying to see if there are more questions. Okay, for now, I don't see new questions. But this has been a great session. I wonder if I don't know if the CSUs don't feel bad about sharing the link through the Rapido list. That could be a solution also. But if you feel that I could share this in a different way. After the participants, I can check who were the participants of this session. But I see that Chris is willing to do that. Perfect, excellent. That would be lovely if you could share it through the Rapido list. That would be perfect. Everyone will have access. And we really, really want to make this better. So I'm also expecting the collaboration of the community on how can we change this based on the technology aspects of letters. Okay. So I'm not seeing something new for the moment. I just can tell you that we have, maybe just to share a little bit, we have a few very exciting releases to come. So our next meeting is at the end of summer. So at the end of August, we'll be having our monthly release meeting. And thank you for attending. And you know where to find us. And that's it, I think, for today. Thank you, guys. We'll post this recording for everyone to have it available. Thank you. Bye-bye.